Alrighty, so let's finish the review for match week number 3, looking at these last 6 games, and that include yesterday's game between LAFC and the New England Revolution. And let us actually begin with the snow game between Minnesota versus the New York Red Bulls. And I think the only surprise coming out of this game is the fact that there was actually goals in this one, because I was assured that this one was going to end scoreless between both of these teams, but no, there was goals that was scored in this game, and it really wasn't as bad as what some people have said. I mean, I know it was sloppy in this game by both of these teams, especially when you look at the passing percentage, where Minnesota actually registered the worst passing percentage that any team has ever had. But I guess that's what happened when you, of course, decided to play in the snow. And in a game where, you know, that turf at Allianz Field, it really gave a Central American vibe where the ball just does not travel whatsoever in that turf and in the snow. But in the first half, and speaking of the snow, now it was kind of interesting that the grounds crew at Allianz Field would decided to leave half of the field being completely covered in snow and half of the field being already blown away with the snow. And I guess the reason why they decided to do that was they think that Minnesota was attacking on the Wonderwall side in the first half. And keep in mind, when they did this was before the coin toss that they did in the pregame, and I guess the Red Bulls probably won the coin toss, and the Red Bulls are saying, yeah, we're attacking into the Wonder Wall, and instead of attacking on the other side, because that's where the snow was all cleared off. So yeah, that was kind of a gamble that did not pay it off by the grounds crew. But it's also kind of funny that both of the goals that was scored in this one was on the side where all the snow was still on the pitch. The other thing that was kind of interesting, and this was something I did not like, and that of course is the Loons decided to wear their Northern Lights kit. Now, I've mentioned before, I'm one of the minority of people that don't really like the Northern Lights kit that the Loons of course released for this season. But this was even a bigger problem in this game, because knowing the fact that you have snow and the part of the Northern Lights kit is white, yeah, this was just a nightmare of seeing them play on TV. Like, there's times whenever they are in part of the snow, it just get to a point where I just couldn't see the players at all. Like, the snow and the jerseys that they were wearing, it's just completely camouflage itself. And I will also say that the quality of the stream, yeah, I would say this was probably the worst one that Apple TV has done in terms of all of the games I watch. And it really isn't their fault, because, again, just combined with the snow and just also with just some light flurry that was still slowing down in the beginning of this game, it was going to be impossible in terms of the quality being as good as what we've seen in these games that we've seen. But it definitely did not help when Minnesota United decided to debut their Northern Lights kit in this one, when it was pretty clear that's going to be causing a lot of viewers, including myself, not able to see the players whatsoever because of the color of their jersey and the snow basically covering each other. But that being said, in the first minute of the game, Morgan did pull one wide from close range before Burke actually went through went around the keeper, but he missed that one wide there. And the Red Bulls were definitely on the front foot, because Minnesota, their defense, yeah, it doesn't seem like they know how to play in the snow or want to play in the snow. It was a very lackluster start for the Loons, especially at the back. Morgan then puts it high from long range. The shot were 5-0 in favor of the Red Bulls early in this one. Morgan then hits one right to Dane Sinclair, but then in the 17th minute, Minnesota actually gets the opening goal. It's Juwane, the one that gets the opening goal for the Loons, and it came off of a set piece, which is kind of the only way you can score in this one. Like, we knew that the creativity was going to be a problem for both of these teams, and the only way you can really create any chances is coming from set piece, and credit to the Loons in this one. They capitalized on that one and get a very surprising 1-0 lead, because this was completely against the run of play with the way that the Red Bulls were by far the better team up to that point. Now in the 26th minute, Luquinhas would hit one right to Dane Sinclair before Morgan would put it just high, and I just thought the Loons are just playing with a lot of fire. Like, the fact that the Red Bulls were having a lot of these chances, and mind you, some of these chances were kind of half chances, but there were some that it could really threaten this team going forward. I thought that they were eventually going to concede before halftime. Edelman then puts it high from long range in the 40th minute before Luquinhas would blast it high as the shots were 10-4 in favor of the Red Bulls near the end of the first half. But we do head in the end of the first half with Minnesota leading 1-0. That lead wouldn't last long heading into the second half because after Burke heads it high in the 47th minute, in the 49th minute, the Red Bulls equalize. It's Andres Reyes scoring from Tolkien to tie the game up at 1 apiece, and again, it comes off of a set piece. This one was delivered beautifully by John Tolkien, who continued to show that, yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of European clubs are watching this kid and knowing that he's probably going to be sold for a big amount of money this offseason from the Red Bulls. But what a delivery this is, and even a better header there from Andres Reyes to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And then just 6 minutes later, it could have been 2-1 in favor of the Red Bulls if it wasn't for Dane Sinclair robbing Morgan, who was 1v1 with Dane Sinclair there. Huane then pulls it wide in the near post, and then I thought what seems like for the first time in the game, the Loons finally started to gain control of this game and had some sustained pressure. And a lot of that has to do with Hassani Dotson coming into this game. I thought when Dotson came into this game, it definitely stabilized that midfield, and he even created some chances of his own as he had a shot that was deflected and goes wide before he blasted wide from long range in the 71st minute, because why not? This is Hassani Dotson. I mean, you know, that's what he does. If he is going to get on the score sheet, you know it's definitely going to be a banger. But in the 80th minute, Olowesi would put it just wide from close range before Fernandez would heads it high from close before Van Zier puts it just high in the 85th minute. And again, the back line for the Loons, it was reeling again. The Red Bulls were pushing to try to get the winning goal. And then in the 90th minute, and actually in the 3rd minute of stoppage time to be exact, Lud had a wonderful volley shot that, you know, it was a very difficult technique of him to cover, but he put a lot of power in that volley shot, but somehow it was blocked away. And I think it might have been Tolkien, the one that blocked away. And if it is Tolkien, again, just to show you that, you know, he can do it at all on the defensive side, but also on the attacking side too. And honestly, I wish that, of course, went in, because the Wonderwall would have just absolutely erupted in this one. By the way, you know, one thing that I also want to give Minnesota credit, and why I love our fan base, they really showed up in this game. Like, you know, the temperature, it's in the 30s, it's snowing, but the stadium was mostly packed. I mean, yes, there were some parts that there was some empty seats, but for a game that is snowing and cold like this, yeah, Minnesota, they don't care. They showed up in this one, and it's kind of unfortunate that they weren't able to see their team get all 3 points. But at the end of the day, it did end in a 1-1 draw, and the shots in this one, again, surprisingly, there was a high amount of shots, despite the fact that the passing wasn't that good in this one. 15 shots created, 11 that Minnesota has. 4 shots on goal created, 2 that Minnesota has. 5 shots off target created, 11 that the Red Bulls had. 4 shots that was blocked created, none that the Red Bulls had. And possession-wise, 51% possession compared to the 49% possession that the Red Bulls has in this game. And overall, I think both teams are just happy to get a point out of this game, knowing, again, with the condition being poor in this game, you know, there's really not much I can say. The fact that, you know, in this game, well, it was kind of sloppy for the Loons, especially at the back at time. You know, it was kind of the same thing for the Red Bulls too, where they just win, despite creating those chances, never really were able to create some really decent chances, besides maybe 1 or 2 times when Dane Sinclair actually was tested. But like I said, overall, I think both of these teams were just happy to get out a point in a vice kind of snow game that we saw in this one. But at the end of the day, I still enjoy it. I mean, I always love snow game. It's very rare that we see these kind of thing happen, and you know, I wish it was snowing a little bit harder. I mean, the snow kind of stopped in the second half, and I feel like if this game was in the afternoon, then we would definitely see a full snow classico, because I think the snow really stopped in the second half. But again, overall, I think both teams will be happy with a 1-1 draw. But that being said, moving on in the next one, we got Nashville versus Montreal. So I didn't write too much notes in this game, because really there wasn't much that happened in this game, other than the fact that Nashville basically just did their classic thing, which is counter and score those goals. And, you know, even though it's kind of a recipe that many teams know Nashville is going to do, not all the teams are able to find a way to stop that, and certainly Montreal didn't do it in this one. But early on in the first half, and we fast forward to the 25th minute, because let's be honest, there was nothing happen in the first 25 minutes of this game. Bunbury would fire one that goes high. Before in the 37th minute, Jacob Schaffelberg would score here from Mukhtar to make it 1-0 in favor of Nashville, and that was a classic Nashville counterattack. You know that they were very dangerous on the transition, and Montreal had just, for most of this game, had no answer in terms of dealing with that. But yeah, Nashville were up 1-0. Lapinainen did try to tie it for Montreal, but he missed that one wide in the first minute of stoppage time. But we do head to halftime with Nashville leading 1-0. In the second half, once again, pretty much not much happening early in the second half. The first shot of the second half came in the 57th minute when Wanyama hits one wide from long range, and then Kyoto also hits one that was onto the roof of the net. But there was no doubt that Montreal was starting the game needing some momentum. They were trying to push back and trying to not actually look for the second goal, but actually look for the equalizer. Though Pico did hit one right to Sorias before Bunbury was in on goal there, and he struck the post. Yeah, that's one that Theo Bunbury would love to have back. And I also would like to say that chance all came because of a bad turnover for Montreal. Because again, you know, knowing that Nashville is very, very dangerous on the transitional play, the last thing Montreal needs to do is just give the ball away carelessly. And you talk about innovative weather in this game. There was also innovative weather in this one too. It was raining hard in the second half, and I get it, but you still just cannot simply give the ball away carelessly like what we saw for Montreal in the second half. Washington then hits one right to Saras, but then in the 89th minute, he would get on the score sheet for the first time in his career in MLS, as he scored here from Moore and Mule to make it 2-0 in favor of Nashville. And what a way to score your first career MLS goal too. I mean, it was a wonderful strike there from Taylor Washington. They also even mentioned that he also just become the all-time Nashville SC appearance leader after this game. So certainly congratulations to him for that, and definitely much sweeter the fact that he's on that same note, he also scored his first career MLS goal. But yeah, in the end, Nashville was able to win 2-0 in this one. Shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 8 that Montreal has. 4 shots out was on goal compared to none that Montreal had. 7 shots off target compared to 5 that Nashville has. 1 shot that was blocked compared to 3 that Nashville has. And possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that Nashville has in this game. And I do think that I may have underestimated Nashville in terms of how well they do this season after a good start. But keep in mind, they have played some relatively easy team in the beginning of the season. Let's see how they're going to do now that when they do face against some of these tougher teams, because when you play the likes of the NYCFC, New York Red Bulls, and then Montreal in the first 3 games, and especially the first 2 games is at home, yeah, that's not really one that you would say that are tough team to face. But I think you could argue, if you're a Nashville fans, that you know, they have struggled at Geodis Park last season, and the fact that in the first 2 home games, it was very important for them to get wins at Geodis Park to start this season, and now that they're able to get it, I think they're definitely trending in the right direction, because we know that this team is a very good road team just because of the style that they, of course, play. But that being said, moving on in the next match, we got RSL and Austin, and what a bounce back this is for Los Verdes. I mean, after just an embarrassing result in that Wednesday CCL defeat to Violeta, arguably the most embarrassing loss that Austin have suffered in their young MLS career. They come into RSL in this game and were able to bounce back to get a 2-1 win against the hosts. Now, early on, Savarino did have a shot that was deflected high, as I thought RSL was on the front foot and was really trying to test this fragile Austin backline. Because why not? You know, this is the thing about this Austin team. They're very fragile at the back. But instead, in the 9th minute, Austin takes the lead. It's John Gallagher scoring from Owen Wolf to make it 1-0 in favor of Austin. It was an absolute banger of a goal that John Gallagher, of course, scored. Definitely in contention for goal of the week, but that won't be the last banger that they would score in this game. That is Los Verdes. But in the 13th minute, McMath did deny Rigoni from close range, and the momentum was now with Austin as they were looking for the second goal. By the way, momentum was definitely like clockwork in this one. It was swinging back and forth. It was kind of a bit of a back and forth game where there was time where I thought RSL were looking the better team, and then there was a spell of play that Austin was looking like the better of the team. But at that point, it looked like the momentum was swinging toward Austin. Though in the 20th minute, Savarino did hit it right to Stuver, but then in the 22nd minute, RSL equalized. It's Justin Glad scoring from Krylak and Brody to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Gomez then blast one just high in the near post, and again, momentum was right back to RSL. It looked like they were pressing to try and get the lead for the first time tonight. Savarino had a chance to do so, as he had actually a gaping gap to shoot there, but his shot was blocked away. But then in the 33rd minute, just as you thought RSL maybe had some momentum to get the lead, Austin take the lead back. It's Owen Wolff this time. I mean, you know, I'm pretty sure after he assists the goal that Gallagher, of course, scored, he said, oh, what? I can do that too. Because he scored a banger here himself from Pereira to make it 2-1 in favor of Austin. But if you're RSL, yeah, you know that first goal that you concede on John Gallagher because you didn't decide to close him down? Maybe you should think about closing down Owen Wolff too, and maybe need to close down in terms of not getting scored again from long range, because yeah, you know, while this was a great goal by Owen Wolff, this was just bad closing down from RSL. Like, they did not close down whatsoever. They allowed Owen Wolff and gave him way too much respect in terms of shooting that from long range, and Owen Wolff basically made them pay. So yeah, that gives Austin a 2-1 lead. Krylak then looked like he got himself sent off in the 43rd minute, but thankfully VAR came to his rescue and downgrade his foul on Pereira for a yellow, and I do think that in the end that was the right call. I mean, you know, I thought that would have been a really soft red card. I mean, yes, the studs were showing in that tackle that Krylak had on Pereira, but I feel like, you know, maybe if they kind of slow it down a little bit, it wasn't as egregious as when they do it fast motion, and VAR basically decided to downgrade him from a red card to a yellow card. But unfortunately for RSL, they were still down 2-1 heading into the second half. And in the second half, Gomez then draws one that palms away by Stuver. I thought Gomez had a good game in this one, even though he's still searching for his first goal for this RSL team. But again, RSL was on the front foot. They were looking to try to press with the equalizer. But every time I think that RSL or Austin had a chance to gain the momentum, the other team basically took that momentum away, as Rigoni was in on goal here, but his shot was blocked away. Again, Rigoni just cannot buy a goal right now. Like, he is right now. I mean, I will say in defense of Emiliano Rigoni, he has been able to get into good spot, but you're a guy that is still just trying to break this goal drought that he's in right now. Yeah, it's not a big surprise that he is kind of feeling a little snake bitten a little bit, just cannot put away at least some chances that he is given in this game, and also in some of the previous games that Austin has played. Dreyusi then had a header that was denied by McMath full stretch, and it wasn't really a powerful header, but McMath had to dive full stretch there, and if he didn't dive full stretch there, that one was going to the back of the net. But in the 53rd minute, it did went in the back of the net for Austin, as Alex Rain thought that it was 3-1 in favor of Austin. The flag did not agree with him, because the offside flag went up and the goal was disallowed. And again, it just felt like it was one of those games where momentum was like clockwork. It was swinging back and forth and back and forth, and it shouldn't be a big surprise that RSL started to get some momentum too. Ojeda almost scored what looked like it was a cross shot, almost a Randall Leal goal, but his cross actually hits the post there. Then Oviedo would hit one right to Stuver before on the other end, McMath would deny Zardes. Jarzy Zardes, another guy, along with Rigoni, just cannot buy a goal right now. And then in the 73rd minute, it looked like RSL equalized when Julio puts it into the back of the net. But unfortunately, just like the Alex Rain goal, the goal was disallowed for offside. Krylak then heads it straight to Stuver in the 75th minute. And really, as the time winds down, you know, RSL, they were pushing man forward. They were trying to get this equalizer, which, you know, that in some way kind of played right in the hands of Austin, because, you know, this is a team that loves to at times play on the transition, and we have seen a couple of times where Austin has caught RSL out at the back because of RSL pushing way too many man forward. But, you know, for RSL at that point, they had to do it. They had to push man forward to try to get the equalizer, but that also led, like I said, with Austin chances to transition. And in this play, Urruti, he was in on goal here. He had a chance to put the dagger in this one, but unfortunately he struck the post. And fortunately for Austin, that chance came in the 5th minute stoppage time, which actually was the last play of this game. As in the end, Austin was able to hold on to win 2-1 in this one. A massive victory on the road, considered the circumstances that they just had a couple of days ago. Shots in this one, 17 shots compared to 11 that Austin has, 5 shots on goal compared to 6 that RSL had, 6 shots off target compared to 2 that Austin has, 4 shots off walk compared to 5 that RSL had, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that Austin has in this game. So yeah, for Austin, huge bounce back win, but for RSL, a very frustrating result, because I didn't think they played bad in this game, but they just weren't clinical in this one. And also, you know, dropping points at home, that is something that they would love to want to avoid, because that's kind of their main field in terms of trying to get into the playoffs, knowing they're not really a good road team. So to drop all 3 points in this one, especially in a season opener, it has to be very frustrated for Pablo Mastroeni's side. But that being said, moving on, in terms of the next match, we got the Quakes versus the Colorado Rapids, and this game kind of was almost carbon copy to the last game that the Quakes played against the Whitecaps, where they had the chances in this one, and for a long time it was very frustrated to not see this team capitalize their opportunity, but in the end they were able to capitalize their opportunity late in this game and walked away with a comfortable 1-0 win. Now, early on, the first shot of the game came in the 9th minute when Brian Acosta drilled one that goes wide before Montero had a gaping goal to shoot, but unfortunately his shot was blocked away. Acapo then had a shot that was missed wide in the 15th minute. I mean, Acapo, you know, he has a lot of confidence in front of goal. I mean, after scoring the last game, scoring his first MLS goal, you know that he's not afraid to shoot in this one. But there was no doubt that after a slow start, the Quakes have got themselves into the game, but can they be a little bit cleaner in the final third? Because at times I thought the final third was still a problem for this team. Maxwell then heads it high for the Rapids in the 27th minute, before in the 36th minute, Yarbrough, he absolutely robbed Espinoza there. I mean, this was just a top-bin goal from Espinoza, and I have no idea how William Yarbrough was able to push that one away. I mean, kind of almost continued the good form that he had in the last game against Sporting KC. But then in the 37th minute, on the other end, Yappy would pulls it just wide from close range. Again, I see the potential in Yappy. I mean, I think he can be a decent player, but I'm pretty sure he's probably frustrated that he still haven't got on the score sheet. I mean, I feel like if he can get on the score sheet once, watch out. This kid can definitely make some noise for this Colorado Rapids side. But in the 40th minute, Cal would then pulls one just wide as we head to halftime with this game scoreless at 0-0. Now in the second half, like the first half, not much was happening in the opening bit of the second half. First chance of the second half came in the 58th minute when Montero's shot was deflected and it goes wide, and then on the other end, Nicholson pulls it just right on the volley. Then Espinoza's shot goes right to Yarbrough. Again, I thought Espinoza had a good game in this one. It's been a great start to the season for Christian Espinoza too. There was a shout for a penalty for the Quakes that was not given, but then in the 78th minute, the Quakes finally score. And again, you know, just like the last game where I thought it wasn't going to happen for the Quakes to come back against the Whitecaps, I thought this was the same case. I thought it was going to be a frustrating 0-0 draw that the Quakes will have against the Colorado Rapids, but thankfully that was not the case, because in the 78th minute, Christian Espinoza would score here to make it 1-0 in favor of the Quakes, and it was almost a carbon copy of the goal that was saved by Yarbrough in the 36th minute. I mean, this one, it did kind of took a deflection, but nevertheless, it hits off the post, and this time went in. And I definitely think that this is going to be in contention for goal of the week, though because it was a deflection, maybe that won't win goal of the week, especially the goal that I talked about John Gallagher scored was even more amazing. But definitely a contention for this week. And yeah, the Quakes got a much needed goal to Leeds at 1-0, and really as time winds down, it feels like it was comfortable for the Quakes. Like, you know, with a 1-0 lead, you would expect maybe the road team would push back a little bit. That was not the case. I mean, it feels like that goal really deflated this Rapids team. But that being said, we did have one notable thing happen late in this one, as there was some pushing and shoving that was going on. That all started when I believe it was Nicholson, the one that yanked Tommy Thompson head down. Or actually, no, it wasn't Nicholson. It was Jack Price, the one that yanked Tommy Thompson hair and basically yanked him down in the box. Now, obviously, that definitely sparked a little bit of a pushing and shoving, because when you do that, yeah, you're going to have players not making it for both. And then on that play, it seems like, there was nothing going to be serious that was given until a red card was shown to Jeimer Montero. Now, I was kind of surprised at first. I mean, I didn't know what exactly Montero got a red card for. In fact, the announcer was kind of confusing too. But thankfully, just as the game finished, they actually show why Montero got a red card. And apparently, it was because of him maybe have accidentally, when he's trying to push away Nicholson, he basically pushed him into the throw area and kind of trying to act as a peacemaker. Now, Daniel immediately said that was a soft foul, which I think maybe that was kind of a little bit biased toward her viewpoint, but I also, in some way, kind of agrees with her, the fact that, yeah, I do think that was kind of soft, and that I feel like if you're going to give that a red card, you might as well give Jack Price a red card on Tommy Thompson with the way that he yanked Thompson's hair and basically yanked him down on the ground. But nevertheless, it should be interesting to see whether or not if the disciplinary committee will overturn that call. I'm pretty sure the Quakes are going to appeal it, and if this is not going to be overturned, then yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the Quakes are going to do in the midfield area. I think they're probably going to put Bodissimo in that spot that Montero basically occupied, which is not a bad option, but they do lose a little bit of that deep line playmaking that Montero brought to the table compared to what we see with Michael Bodissimo. That doesn't really offer that to the table. But again, that of course is kind of the situation that they might have to face if this red card is not rescinded. But nevertheless, besides that bad moment, at least the Quakes did walk away with 3 points, getting back-to-back wins this season with a 1-0 victory. Shots in this one, 13 shots compared to 6 that the Rapids had, 4 shots on goal compared to none that the Rapids had. Both teams had 6 shots off target, no shots in this block compared to 3 that the Quakes had, and possession-wise, the Quakes had the better of the possession, 59% possession compared to 41% possession that the Colorado Rapids has in this game. And I think the other thing that I'm kind of frustrated about the Quakes, despite getting back-to-back wins, is that it could have been easily three wins to start the season if it wasn't for Thiago Almada scoring golazo against this team. But nevertheless, that was kind of unfortunate that happened, and I think if you want to spin it in a positive way, at least the Quakes are making PayPal Park look like a fortress again, and now it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do when they face again St. Louis, because now I am going to switch board and talk about what St. Louis did to the Portland Timbers, that they are actually now one step away of doing something that no expansion team has ever done in MLS history. And that's something that I said about St. Louis, of potentially doing that no expansion team has ever done in MLS history, is trying to become the first expansion team to win their first four games in their expansion season, because this is now 3 straight win for St. Louis in this season, and they are actually right now not only at the top of the Western Conference, but at the top of the Supporters Shield. And if you would have told St. Louis fan, or even anybody, that St. Louis would be at the top of the Supporters Shield after 3 games, I'm pretty sure everybody will think that you're crazy, and even St. Louis fans, that even in their wildest dream, that of course is not going to be the case. But here we are, they're leading the Supporters Shield race, and really when you look at these wins that they have got in the last 3 games, it definitely has shown the character of this team. The character of this team is definitely strong, and in some way it kind of also reminds me a little bit of Austin last season, where last season Austin shown a lot of character in terms of coming back from reserve despite going down early. And in this game, I mean, St. Louis find themselves in a hole early in this one, because in the first half, after Berkey denied Fuzakis there as he was in on goal and McGraw heads it wide from close range, the Timbers would get the opening goal as Zach McGraw would score here from Williamson to make it 1-0 in favor of the Timbers. And, once again, Portland was off to a dream start, just like what we saw in the last home game and in their season home opener, when they got the opening goal very early against Sporting KC. And also thought that, once again, this should test St. Louis mentality, because, so far in the first 2 games, they've been able to come back despite facing some adversity. But, in this game, it's going to be difficult, because, we don't see a lot of team able to come back from deficit when they face against the Portland Timbers at Providence Park, except maybe in the 2020 season, when they were kind of blowing games every single night. But what I'm trying to say is that it's not easy to try to come back from resort in a hostile environment that, you know, St. Louis kind of face in the game against Austin, but you just wonder, can they do it again? Well, you know, not only they were able to do it again, but really they, despite the shaky start that they had, they kind of controlled the rest of this game. Vasilev would then pulls one into the side netting, as again I thought it was a good response for St. Louis because they were starting to dictate the game. They were decided to control the possession and look for the opening goal. Now I don't know if that has a lot to do with the fact that that's kind of what the Timbers want to do. They want to give teams the possession and kind of fool them that they're kind of controlling this game, whereas they're definitely looking for the kill and trying to hit on the counterattack. But to St. Louis credit, not only the fact that they have dictate the game, but they really did not allow the Timbers to find any sort of chances whenever the Timbers trying to hit on the transition and trying to go with their bread and butter. Though, that being said, in the 30th minute, Mosquera would blasted wide from close range. And again, you know, I will say that despite the fact that St. Louis was dictating the play, they were not creating too much chances. They were struggling to create chances, which it does happen. Again, with an expansion team like that, you know that the chemistry level is still going to take time to gel, especially on the attacking end. And again, I think maybe some St. Louis fan might be frustrated because after watching what we saw in the first two games, maybe they didn't think that their team would be struggling in terms of creating chances. Whereas again, that's kind of the reality with expansion team. I thought we saw a little bit in this one too. Though as soon as I said that, Klaus had a chance in the 37th minute, but he puts it high from the near post. But then on the first minute of stoppage time, St. Louis equalized. It's Jared Strauss scoring from Klaus and on to tie the game up at 1 apiece, and this was definitely a big moment because, you know, the Timbers, they were trying to hold on to get this to halftime because they really haven't played well despite the first couple of minutes where they get the opening goal, and yeah, that is just definitely a killer for them to concede. And especially this, just like the last game where St. Louis was able to score right on the stroke of halftime, you just had a feeling momentum might be heading to the away team in this one, because as we head into the second half, St. Louis almost scored right on the stroke of the first minute in the second half, as McGraw, who of course scored the goal in the third minute, he almost put it into his own net, but fortunate for him, the post was there to save him from heading that one into his own net. But there was no doubt St. Louis was continuing to dominate possession, and the Timbers, again, they're just getting pinned in. They just cannot use their bread and butter tactics of trying to go on the counter attack and trying to hit this St. Louis team on the transition. Then went in on goal, but this one hits right to Bingham. This was a great pass there from Lovin, but for Rasmus, he's definitely gonna want that one back because he was in on goal there, but he just could not find that composure to put it past Bingham. Berkey then denied Moreno as St. Louis did kind of scramble to defend in the box, but then in the 75th minute, St. Louis take the lead for the first time, and it's Kyle Hebert scoring his first career MLS goal from Lovin to give St. Louis a 2-1 lead. And although this was not a gift like what we see with St. Louis in the first two games, with some terrible back pass that led to St. Louis scoring a goal, this kind of might as well be a gift in terms of set piece defending for the Portland Timbers. Very lazy. I mean, just I don't know how in the world did Hebert shot was not clear the way. Like, there was 5 Timbers player could have been there to trying to clear the way. None of them dealt with it. In fact, when they did try, one of them deal with it, it was already too late. Like, that ball was already in the back, and then as they would clear that one away, it was just not good enough in terms of that set piece defending. And that's also been a big problem for this Timber side, where they just cannot defend this set piece. We saw this as a big issue in the game against LAFC, especially defending corner, and now we're seeing it again in this one, conceding a set piece goal that probably shouldn't have happened if those 5 Timbers defender would have just maybe hustled a little bit and tried to clear that one away. But that being said, in the 80th minute, Zuparic puts one wide from close range, and you can definitely see there was a lot of frustration inside Providence Park. Like, that 25,000 fans inside the stadium, there was a lot of groan because this team just could not get anything going, and it just felt like St. Louis were very comfortable in terms of holding on to this lead, just like what I said about the Quakes when they try to hold on to the lead against the Rapids. And just like the Quakes, St. Louis is able to do it as they win 2-1 here, win their third straight game and becoming only the second team to win their first free game after the Seattle Sounders did it back in 2009. And keep in mind, that team made it to the playoffs, and little do we know that was the beginning of a decade-long success that they has had in MLS. But the shots in this one, 13 shots compared to 10 that St. Louis had, 5 shots on goal compared to 3 that the Timbers had. Both teams had 4 shots off target, or actually, no, 9 shots off target compared to the 1 that, or compared to the 4 that St. Louis has had. I thought that was a 4 there. That actually was a 9. That's kind of embarrassing that I can't even read my own handwriting. But 1 shot that was blocked for both of these teams, and possession-wise, dead even at 50%. And like I said, St. Louis, they have a chance to make history in the next game. If they win against the San Jose Earthquakes at home, they'll become the first expansion team to win their first 4 games. And I definitely think that they have a chance to do so, because knowing the Quakes' record on the road, I would not be surprised if St. Louis would get another victory. But for the Portland Timbers, this has to be very concerning, because, you know, when you look at all 3 of the games that they have played so far this season, even in the win against Sporting KC, they did not look convincing whatsoever. And now, after they kind of took a drumming on LAFC, that was kind of maybe cover up a little bit, because they did have a late comeback that falls short. This result is just showing the problem the Portland Timbers has had. I mean, especially on the attacking front, there's just no creativity whatsoever on the attacking end. And then on the defensive department, there's been times, especially in set pieces, they has caused their own problem, and this is going to be something that they're going to have to deal with. And I also think that, again, the depth of this team is also a huge problem, and especially with the injuries that they've been having. I mean, you know, this team already cannot afford to have injuries, but now with the injuries kind of adding up, yeah, there has to be huge concern if you are a Timbers fan. Once again, look like they're all to another slow start to beginning the season. But that being said, moving on, in the last game of this board, and the last game for match week number 3, wow. You know, I did not expect this dominance by LAFC against New England, which, again, it might be surprised to see, because after all, LAFC did win Supporter Shield and MLS Cup, and it feels like that is the case, at least in the beginning of the season, starting out strong. But what I did not expect is the fact that, you know, with how the Revs have looked in the first couple of games, I thought they would put a much more of a fight in this one. But instead, what we saw in this game was a pretty one-sided affair, where LAFC basically proved to the rest of the league why they were MLS Cup champion, and why this team is definitely going to be one of the favorites, if not the favorites right now, to win the CONCACAF Champions League. But in the first half, there was a lot of possession early for the Revs. So despite the fact that I said LAFC dominant in this game, at least for the first couple of minutes, you know, New England did look good, but that was about the only time that they actually looked decent. But they weren't able to create any chances, and that was key, because, you know, knowing the fact that the Revs were kind of slight underdog coming into this game, you have to capitalize, and you have to start to create some chances to look friend, because if you give LAFC a chance to get themselves settled, then it is all but over. But in the 10th minute, Bawanga would hit one that goes high. Before, in the 12th minute, a penalty was given to LAFC after Tillman is brought down by Bo in the box. Yeah, that was just a clumsy tackle there from Gustavo Bo, but also a great job there from Timothy Tillman drawing the penalty, which Bawanga basically puts that one away. I mean, Dennis Bawanga, he cannot stop scoring goals right now, and I think if he can continue to score at this rate, I'm pretty sure LAFC will not remember that they lost Chicho Arango this offseason too. But yeah, that made it 1-0 in favor of LAFC. Would then try to respond for the Revs, but he hits one right to McCarthy. Before Petrovic denied Opoku from long range. I gotta feel so bad for Georgi Petrovic, because he did everything in this game to try and to keep this one close, but he just got completely hung out to drive by a non-existent New England defense, especially what we saw in the second half. Tillman then hits one right to Petrovic, and again, New England, they're just committing way too many turnover in this game. Like, you just cannot turn over against this LAFC team with the quality that they have. But thankfully, they were able to head to halftime with a 1-0 lead, and they did mention that maybe this is a time where Bruce Arena might get a good halftime speech to get this this team going. Well, it turns out that was not the case, because in the second half, it was pretty much the same thing. LAFC was on the front foot as New England was on its heels again. And then we had a interesting moment where, as LAFC was ready to take the free kick, Acosta and Bawanga basically decided to do a little rock, paper, scissors game to decide who is going to take the free kick. And I mean, real peak MLS moment. And just, you were thinking that, hopefully this might be a game that could bring some MLS After Dark kind of shenanigans. There you go. There's the MLS After Dark shenanigans. That is something that is the reason why it makes this league so special. And I know some people might think that's kind of amateur, but hey, when you're dominant like that, and what LAFC has done, maybe we have some fun out there, and they definitely had some fun out here. And also that ensuing free kick, it almost went in too, because I believe Bawanga probably won the rock paper scissors mini game, because he actually shook the post on the free kick. And if that one went in, I think that will forever be known as the rock paper scissors free kick goal, and will definitely be hang up there in terms of one of the craziest but weirdest moment we have ever seen in MLS history. But in the 57th minute, Opoku would put one right to Petrovic as LAFC was pressing to get that second goal, and they do get it in the 68th minute, as Dennis Bawanga, again, he just cannot stop scoring right now. He scored from Cifuentes to make it 2-0 in favor of LAFC, but LAFC was not done there. Petrovic would then deny Buke from close, as it's all LAFC, and I just thought this could get really ugly for the refs. But Petrovic, at least at times, were trying to make this not being as ugly as it is, as in the 70th minute, he would rob Vela, who should have scored from 7 yards out. And I think maybe Vela was being a little bit too cocky there, because, that ball was kind of right toward him. He was just trying to maybe bait Petrovic there, similar to what we see Vela has done before, trying to make the goalkeeper silly, or the opposition goalkeeper silly. But I feel like for Vela in this case, just bury it. Like, you can't make fun of Georgi Petrovic, and especially the quality that he has. And Petrovic just saying, "Yep, no, you're not going to make me look bad." He made that big save on Vela that should have been the third goal for LAFC. Before Petrovic would deny Buke from close range, and then he denied Palacio from close range. And like I said, I feel bad for Petrovic, and I think inside of him, he has to be completely livid by his back line. He's just getting completely hung out to dry in this one. And then in the 83rd minute, he would get even more angry at his back line, because he would actually eventually concede the third goal from Timothy Tillman, and he'll probably be angry, and also remind Latif Blessing that he doesn't play for LAFC anymore. Or maybe you could say that Latif Blessing was kind of trying to have a Kip Keller moment, trying to be a double agent, and maybe want to give his former team a goal here, because he passed this one right to Tillman. Well, not as egregious as what we saw with Kip Keller did to Jared Stroud, but yeah, it was a brutal turnover that he committed. And again, those turnovers that we talked about from New England, and you knew that they were going to be punished, and they got punished here. It was 3-0 at that point. The LA was ringing out inside BMO Stadium, as LAFC fans were doing the same thing like they did against Alajuelense on the road. And then the 6-minute stoppage time, they would make it 4-0, as Stefan Buke would score from Bawanga and Cifuentes to make it 4-0 in favor of LAFC, and Buke deserved that goal. I mean, he's been working so hard to finally score his first career MLS goal, and he did in that point. Although, Petrovic, he came very close of saving this. I mean, he actually did save this one, but unfortunately the ball already crossed the line. He was actually kind of trying to do the old hidden ball trick there, trying to hide the ball and then kind of palmed it away, thinking that the ball didn't cross the line. But yeah, unfortunately that did not work. I mean, at the age of VAR, it's always not going to work out, and they did go take a look at it to see whether or not the ball did cross the line, and yeah, it clearly crossed the line there. But definitely not a bad effort there from Petrovic, who, like I said, I'm pretty sure all those refs defenders has to apologize to Petrovic in this game, because these 4 goals, none of them was really on him, and I do feel bad the fact that his stats is going to look bad, even though he just had an incredible night in this one, and could have easily kept, this could have been easily 5-6 or even 7-0 for LAFC if it wasn't for Petrovic making some big save, especially in the second half. But nevertheless, it did end 4-0 in favor of LAFC. Shots in this one, 18 shots committed, just 4 that New England has. 12 shots on goal compared to 1 that the Revs had. 2 shots that was off target compared to 4 that LAFC had. 2 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that the Revs had. And possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that LAFC has in this game. And yeah, again, if this is going to be something that we're going to see from LAFC for the rest of the season, yeah, you better believe that they're definitely going to be a team that could be contending for Supporters' Shield and MLS Cup and even winning CCL this year. But it's going to be interesting to see if they can do that, because I think their first big test is going to be next week when they play against the Seattle Sounders in a game that already could be a preview in terms of the Western Conference Final later on this season. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of my review of all of the 6 remaining games that finish off match week number 3. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this review? And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.